And at last, we are live. It's been a bit of an adventure this afternoon trying to hook up with the Honorable Kojo Yankah all the way in Boston. It must be the Atlantic Ocean that's causing us difficulties. But it is an absolute delight for me to welcome onto another episode of TêTe-à-Tet a man who I can only really call a polymath. As you know, TêTe-à-Tet looks at discussions with individuals where we define who we are as people of African origin and secondly, reimagine our future. Now, there could not be a more apposite subject for us to be talking about than the launch and founding of the new Pan African Heritage World Museum, Pan African Heritage World Museum. From now on, I'm going to call it Paul because we haven't got 5 hours in this broadcast. Anyway, to introduce my guest, he is the Honorable Kojo Yankah. He's an MP, Minister of State under the Rawlings regime. He's a founder of the African University College of Communications. He was once the editor of the nation, Ghana's most widely read newspaper, the Daily Graphic. And today he has become a founder member of the PAHWM, the Pan-African Heritage World Museum. So, Kojo, you've had an illustrious history. Was this museum always a part of your mission?
Yes, I must say. I founded the African University College of Communications in 2001, and my mission was to train a corps of journalists and writers who would communicate the history of Africa. I was president of that university until 5 years ago. And I must say that we had at the base of all the courses that we're offering Africana Studies very strongly. We were the first university to offer Africana Studies for 3 years before the last year that you graduated. Otherwise, all universities in Ghana offer only 1 year. So it was deliberate. The idea was to get our journalists to understand the foundations of where we've come from. So our Africana Studies department is very strong.
Terrific. Can I ask, what is the mission? What is the purpose of the Pan-African Heritage World Museum? I tell you why it's suddenly become so important. Today, I read a news story about a Chinese gentleman who had been installed as a chief in the Kwao region, Abetifi, to be precise. And given the background of recent extreme xenophobia towards Africans, even racism, I, for one, was stunned. It made me think as if the people who were making these decisions don't understand their own history. How will PAHWM make a difference in issues like this?
Let me say that I've seen that story. I see that he's a development chief, a title that is granted even to what we call strangers in communities, just to help them in their development. But it raises the question of consciousness of what we have. It is not only the question of installing, a Chinese chief. That for me is the matter. It goes beyond that. It goes to the point where in most palaces, people are not doing what was supposed to be done in palaces, where we virtually are giving up our own observances that we have in terms of people still pray like in a church in most palaces. something that is strange to me in several ways. And I think
It seems to me that yes, carry on, please carry on.
That we've been brainwashed to think that what we have been doing all this time has been wrong. And therefore, anything that any stranger brings along is the in thing, as long as the person will provide some money to go with it. I'm sure that it was not for nothing that this community would raise high on the shoulders of people as somebody who is is not from.
You see, well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not racist in any way, shape, or form.
No.
I love anybody who loves Ghana. I love anybody who loves Africa and wants to contribute towards Africa.
Right.
But in a context like this,
mm-hmm.
it occurred to me that before strangers or foreigners are invited to such honorary positions,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is important enough to require an act of parliament. And an act passed by a significant majority, I'm saying maybe 70 or 30%, so that the entire nation can see what we are doing with our heritage and that how cheap or expensive our heritage is to acquire. What do you mean? Well, what do you think of that? You're a former minister of state.
No, at the moment, all these practices are localized. They do not go to parliament.
That's what I'm saying. Is that aren't they sufficiently strategically important for the nation to have a percentage in oversight of what's happening at these local levels? Because at the local level, the people enter Ghana via the back door.
Yes, but again, the difficulty here is that we also recognize the national houses of chiefs as the traditional authorities. So this is a traditional matter which is handled by the House of Chiefs. So the House of Chiefs in the region, until they say that this is wrong, Parliament cannot do anything about it.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I mean, we may have a constitution, something of a constitutional crisis, or the viewpoint that I'm putting forward is going to create some internal conflicts because somebody must be the final arbiter of Ghana's political, cultural, and economic heritage. And surely, maybe a conversation needs to be had about things like this, in that if certain highly egregious decisions are made, certainly the elected representatives of the realm must have a say. What do you think, or what do you make of that?
Yeah, I agree with you up to a certain point. Where I would want to go even further is to give traditional authorities a certain level of authority within the decision-making process.
Terrific.
Because as it is now, we've left them at the kind of a second level. They are not a House of Lords. They are not anything. So we have Parliament overruling. If we had a situation where you got National House of Chiefs represented in Parliament, or giving another line of decision making, so that all laws that are related to local customs and so on are passed through the National House of Chiefs before they come to Parliament. If you get them involved, right now they are like a secondary level decision-making body.
Understood. But this is an issue for us to look forward to. But let me move on. What is the real mission of the Pan-African Heritage World Museum? The actual message.
Right. The actual message, one, is to get us to go back to and learn and relearn our history, our culture, our civilization. We went to school where we were told that our history began from Columbus. Now, current research shows clearly that no, we had a history long before Columbus. We had a civilization. Now, even later discoveries confirm that humankind was created from Africa. So if humankind started in Africa, why are we where we are? So a lot of scholars have done a lot of research over the years, in the past 20, 25 years, not only by Africans, but also by the Chinese recently. Chinese professors agree that the first Chinese was black. We have the first Indian was black, first European was black. So scientific evidence shows clearly that all that we're learning was wrong. So, and there is a lot of information now about the history of Egypt, the history around the Nile, around Ethiopia, around Sudan, to show that even Christianity started in Africa and all that. So why don't we bring all of these together into a museum, not just a dead museum, but a living museum for people now to go through and see the new discoveries. Now we are learning, even in the US, new inventors that were black that were never showcased. So we are bringing all these together to enable people to go back and relearn. And I believe that through that, people will be more confident of themselves, because we've been made to think that if you're black, you're second class. But we want equality in humanity.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to come back to the matter of resources for the curation of your museum. But before we do that, the Pan-African Heritage World Museum, how do you define the bounds of Pan-Africanism? And let me juxtapose that to the question of what the diaspora is. What are the first of all, what are the geographical bounds of the diaspora? And secondly, what are the bounds of Pan-Africanism? As concisely as you can, sir.
Yes, if you take it from the point of view that humanity started in Africa, we were all on the continent and people migrated. Some were taken away against their will into other parts of the world. Right. So our geographical circumference is all wherever people of African origin live.
Right.
They are all part of this Pan-African world.
Okay.
So we are looking into the Indian Ocean, we're looking to South America, we're looking into the Caribbean, looking into the Europe, we're looking into Americas. They are all the diaspora. And now, if you know, the African Union has created what they call the sixth region.
Right.
So the diaspora is now the sixth region of the African Union. And so it is now, we are now in a period where people are mobilizing themselves into how do we, if we are from that region, we are the sixth region of Africa, how do we play a role in helping to develop the continent?
Okay, how do we play out that, and indeed our relationship with the continent itself?
Right.
Let me jump now to the question of the resources for your curation. You've been talking about recently unearthed facts, scientific discoveries, and so on and so forth. So you must have academic resources. You must have discovered artifacts and exhibits. What kind of academic resources have you pulled together to curate the museum?
Right. First of all, we got an academic curator who has worked in the US for over 25 years, from Senegal, who with all his experience, and his PhD was also in the origins of African civilization. He is very well into Sheikh Anta Diop's works and other scholars. So what we've done is that with him, we have put 20 academics, well-known academics from all over the world. The groups keeps expanding because we get more nominations of published scholars like Molefi Kete Asante, Maulana Karanga, Kofi Asare Opoku, people who have really done all these researches which consolidate the points I'm making. They form the academic council, so they are there to validate the narrative as we start from the origin to the present.
Right. So that's fantastic. Well, I can see you got the academic heavyweights lined up. Now, when it comes to artifacts and exhibits, I mean, there's a group based in London called Return Our Icons. It's run by a gentleman called Onyekatu Wambu, who is actually very strong in the business of retaining and regrouping and recovering many of our artifacts, which are spread all over Europe, and which Europeans aren't that keen on letting go of. So, do you have an angle? Do you have a position on the return of icons and artifacts to Africa?
Oh, yes. I mean, such a person we would love to be working with at some point. But it's part of our program that next year, for example, we want to hold a conference on restitution in Ghana to bring UNESCO with us. UNESCO, incidentally, has also endorsed our project. So one of our aims will be to bring all those who are connected to lost artifacts and stolen artifacts or possessed artifacts to come together and to contribute. We will have a whole gallery of returned artifacts in the museum. So we have a big.
So when you talk about restitution, what about the economic aspect of restitution? I mean, everybody knows that the United States could not have become the world power it did without free labor. And by osmosis, the symbiotic relationship between the European countries and the United States of America, by osmosis, that wealth trickled through to the former colonial powers. Does the museum hold a position at this time on things like economic restitution?
We haven't gone to that point yet. We think that this is a movement. Once we get the movement grows, now we are dealing at the cultural level. We believe that we will get to a point where we'll join the movement for reparations and economic returns.
Okay. Can I ask, because the real purpose of speaking with you, Honorable Yankah, is that we want to know, as members of the public and supporters of the Pan-African Heritage World Museum, how the museum will help make Black lives matter. So, how much engagement do you anticipate you're going to have with ordinary people whose mentality must be lifted from a state where titles and honors are given apparently from the viewpoint of we, the public, observing public, to just anybody who can afford a few shekels?
Right. So we have inside the museum the history of man from the beginning, as I said, through Egyptian civilization, through the kingdoms of Africa, to the destruction of Africa, the invasion of Egypt by the Greeks and the Romans, through the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, the 1884 conference where Africa was chopped into pieces by European powers, and
Conference of Berlin.
Beg your pardon?
The Conference of Berlin.
The conference, the 1884-85 Berlin Conference. And the struggles, we also are recording the struggles, the points of resistance, and look at the history. Look at the Congo, for example, which is now still suffering. The struggles of the people, how King Leopold just decided that this is a property that nobody should touch, up till today. So we are bringing the whole breadth of the history life in the museums, up to independence and civil rights movements and agitations in Europe and everywhere in the world, in the Caribbean, the Haiti, in Trinidad, Tobago, in Barbados, in Jamaica, even in Cuba, where a lot of resistance took place. So we are bringing all these, alive in the museum. Now, we are not just keeping the museum as a place where you just go and forget. We have other features. That's why we call it a heritage world. We have a garden of sculptors. We want to remember our old leaders right from the beginning till today. We want to remember our scientists who were forgotten in history. We want to remember our traders, our kings, our civil rights leaders, those who fell, and those who made their name in history. We want to record all these. It cannot be everybody, but at least within an acre or two of land, we'll have a garden of sculptures. That will be a learning process. From that, there is another place
Well, this
where
is, I mean, this is true.
this is, yeah.
Sorry, carry on. Please continue.
And
Please continue.
yeah, we also have the Palace of African Kingdoms. Now, what we're going to do, all the kingdoms that we hear of, Kingdom of Ghana, Mali, Songhai, now we have the Ifa, we have the Ife Kingdom, we have the Sokoto Kingdom, we have the Ashanti Kingdom, we have the Zulu Kingdom, we have kingdoms in Central African Republic, we have kingdoms in the Congo, all those that we had, really, that made us Africans. We are going to have their palaces replicated on a 2-acre plot. And we are talking to most of the traditional leaders now to sponsor some of the kingdoms that we are going to do there. We will have people from those countries curating their place and telling their stories. So you can go around from one kingdom to another and learn about. So we had all these. We want people to now ask questions. What happened to us, with all these riches? So, and again, when you get to the point where you say that, oh, we had a university in Timbuktu, maybe the first university that you can think of in the world. What happened? We want people to ask questions. So we'll get curators in all these places telling the stories, up to even the current kingdoms that we have. And I must say the responses that we are getting are very encouraging, very encouraging.
It's terrific. Which brings me on to the natural kind of sequitur to this, which is, let's talk about the vulgarities. I mean, nothing costs nothing. If this is an ambitious project, the two words that are sticking in my mind right now are the two H's, history and heritage. A history and heritage which has been basically completely obscured by the Western narratives that the mainstream media that we all consume these days put out. So this isn't going to be cheap.
No.
How are you going to fund this?
Right. Good question. Our first phase is going to cost 30 million US dollars. And this is very conservative, but
absolutely,
we've put machinery in motion for fundraising. We are raising funds from Africans themselves, but we are also raising funds from companies that, evidently have felt very guilty about contributing to the demeaning of the Black race in one way or the other. We know that there are some guilt companies that are prepared to give, particularly with the rising of Black Lives Matter.
And that's GUILT, not GILT. That's GUILT, correct?
That is right.
Okay, good. Right.
That is very right. Thank you, Ted. Yeah, so we are talking to all of them. We have committees set up in various parts of the world, in the United Kingdom, in America, in Ghana, in East Africa, in the Caribbean. They are all, strategizing in how to raise funds across board. But I must say also that the government of Ghana is also making moves to commit to this project. We hope that when the president of Ghana launches this on 21st of September, he will make a point of it. But again, going back to Ghana, this supports very much the year of return and the beyond the return,
program
approaches that the government is taking now to invite the Black heritage back to Ghana, rightfully. So it supports what the government is doing. So once the government gives us that moral support, I'm sure the rest of the world will. The African Union Commission has also given us endorsement, and they're going to tell all the other African countries through their ministries of culture and tourism that this is something that they should all contribute to.
And of course, I think we should.
endorsement.
Sure. I think we should realize that this is apolitical. This goes beyond politics. This
Totally.
goes to the very psyche of anybody who is a person of African origin. And it's actually something which people should be supporting, regardless of their political color, presumably.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. This is apolitical, and want people to look at the culture, the humanity of it, the point of, getting people to raise their level of self-confidence when they get out of this, because our youth, definitely need this kind of exposure. Even though most of us adults find ourselves lost with the old narrative, so this is dedicated to the youth to know, what they are worth, and they will hold their chest high. We know at the end of the day.
Well, it's totally laudable. Can I ask you finally, Honorable Yankah, what is your metric for success? What does good look like? How do we know whether we're hitting the market, we're missing that? Sorry, whether we're hitting the target, we're missing the target, or completely out in the woods? How are you going to measure your success?
We're going to monitor responses. It all gets to awareness raising.
Right.
This message, I must say, has reached almost all corners of the world. What we have not been able to do is now to get the youth to know that we are into this. Luckily, we've got some youth movement who are writing to us. They want to be part of this. We are using some young musicians to also get their message across through their music and entertainment and other things. And we have got a team now that is working on programs for the youth, which will be added to the awareness raising campaign. So we've given ourselves a year. While we are doing this, I must also say that we are doing a virtual museum. The virtual version of the museum is going to be ready in about 9 months. So while the physical...
what is the timeline then for the launch of the museum, the virtual, the real, etc.? I mean, coronavirus permitting, of course.
Right. So we've given ourselves 2.5 years max to complete the construction, all things being equal, and open it in 2023, June. But before that, if we finish the virtual museum in about 9 months, we're going to open it up to the public so people can click on their computers and on phones and go online, pay $5 or something, and then go through the museum. We'll have 2 sections of the museum, part 1, part 2, covering different themes of the narration. So you can see everything. Even if after COVID and all, you cannot travel, you can still go through the virtual museum and a portal and then see what is going on in the physical space.
Okay. Well, look, I'm really sad that we've run out of time. I mean, I could witter on here and ask you a million more questions. But is there a point of contact? Is there a hashtag, a Twitter address, or a Facebook address that people can stay abreast, you keep abreast of your developments, your news, and so on and so forth? Could you pass that across?
Yes, we have a Facebook page, that is our website, www.pahw.org. pahw.org. That's our website, and we have a Facebook page, PAHW, that has the Adinkra symbol.
Okay.
The Adinkra symbol
Isn't there an N? Isn't there an M for museum at the end of that, or is it just PAHW?
PAHW, because we
Okay.
want now to advertise the world,
Okay.
the heritage world in which the museum, but you'll find the symbol and the design of the museum right there. And for the launch on 21st, we are going to use Hopin. So we will put the link on our website. We'll put the link also on Facebook and other social media so that people can register there. Right now, if you go to our website, pahw.org, you can register and be part of the launch on 21st of September.
Okay. Well, Honorable Kojo Yankah, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry about the difficulties we had logging in, but it's a good day to you over there in Boston, from me here in London, and it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Thank you very much indeed. I will be posting this interview to YouTube after this, and so people who missed it on Facebook can pick it up on YouTube.
We can also put it on our website as well.
Excellent. I'll send you a link.
Thank you. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you so much. Thanks very much, Kojo. Thanks for joining.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye. Okay, that's it. We're off.